At the award ceremony, my dad laughed as he made my younger sister the head of marketing. She has charisma. You? Just try not to embarrass us, he smirked. 2 hours later, my name was trending worldwide, and it had nothing to do with them. I'm Devin Halter. I'm 38. Divorced. No kids. I run a small place near Wicker Park in Chicago and live with my dog, Rufus. He's a 70-pound mutt who thinks he's a lapdog, and frankly, he's probably the only thing in my life that hasn't judged me for being quiet, overly cautious, or not flashy enough. I've worked at Halter Media for 15 years. It's the family business started by my father, Roland Halter, back in the 80s. The company's grown from running radio spots and local commercials to a full-on marketing firm with national clients. It's respectable. We have 2 floors in a high-rise near the Loop, and a reputation for being disruptive in an industry that rarely is. When I first joined, I thought I'd work my way up naturally. Pay my dues. Let my work speak for itself. That was a mistake. Because I didn't account for one thing: Talia, my younger sister, 4 years younger, always center stage. In school plays, student council, the one who threw parties and managed to get our parents to buy her a new car at 17 because the old one didn't feel right. She had a presence, I'll give her that. People liked her. Or at least, they liked being around her. Me? I was the guy with noise-canceling headphones and an Excel sheet open on 2 monitors. The one who double-checked campaign data 3 times before sending it to a client. The guy who walked into meetings with results, not charisma. It never seemed to matter much. Until it did. The night it all blew up, I remember standing in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie 3 times even though I hated ties. I wasn't even supposed to speak, just be there, a smiling cog in the Halter machine. But Rufus barked at me when I stood too long in silence, like he could tell something was off. You and me both, I muttered to him, rubbing his head. The venue was downtown, one of those hotel ballrooms with high ceilings and chandeliers that looked like upside-down jellyfish. Waiters drifted through the crowd with trays of tiny hors d'oeuvres. Everyone smelled like expensive cologne or ambition. I saw Dad near the stage, laughing with clients. He spotted me and, without skipping a beat, grabbed the mic. There he is. My son Devin. Marketing wizard behind the scenes. Just try not to embarrass us tonight. Laughter. Not loud, but enough to sting. I smiled stiffly. People clapped. A few glanced at me awkwardly. My cheeks burned, but I didn't say anything. Talia stood behind him, in a sleek green dress, hair perfect, and an easy smile. She didn't look at me. Not yet. Dad went on. Now for the exciting part of the evening. We're restructuring leadership, getting ready for the next generation of Halter Media. And I'm proud, so proud, to announce our new head of marketing, Talia Halter. The crowd clapped louder this time. Some cheered. I stood there, frozen, watching as she stepped up, hugged Dad, and gave him a kiss on the cheek. She whispered something to him and he laughed. She turned to face the audience, finally locking eyes with me for a second. Then she winked. Maybe it was meant to reassure me. Maybe it was meant to remind me of my place. Thanks, Dad, she said into the mic. I'm excited to bring a fresh perspective to our brand and to make sure Halter Media connects, really connects, with real people. There it was again. That quiet jab. Real people. Like I didn't count. I stepped outside for some air, walking past a few people I'd trained myself. They gave me half smiles. A couple avoided eye contact. I pulled out my phone and called Ray. Are you watching this circus? I asked. Live stream, yeah. Your dad's still a jackass. I laughed once bitterly. Yeah. Devin. You okay? I don't know, man. He gave her the title, the department, the damn mic. I'm just background music. You've got that thing, Ray said. The Tool. Have you ever finished it? Mostly. Still rough. But yeah. Then maybe it's time to show it off. I hesitated. It's not ready. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be real. I went back inside just as Dad was rambling about vision and legacy. The usual stuff. The screen behind him flickered as his slide deck shifted. Then it glitched. A dark screen came up. The Halter logo disappeared. Instead, lines of moving data appeared. My UI. My prototype. A sentiment analysis tool I'd been building for months. Except it was only ever on my personal server, private. The feed showed audience reactions in real time. Not just clicks or claps. It scraped social feeds, expressions, and micro-reactions. My code was reading the room. Dad kept talking, but the tool was analyzing him live. A graph appeared. Insincerity, 84%, audience engagement, 27%, top descriptors, condescending, tired, performative, gasps in the room. A few people laughed nervously. One guy actually clapped. I was frozen. I didn't activate it. I didn't load it onto that projector. But that was my tool. No mistake. Dad turned, squinting at the screen. What the hell is this? Talia stepped forward, whispering frantically to the tech guy. The screen went black. Silence. Then Dad looked around and locked eyes with me. You think this is funny? I didn't. You brought shame on this family. On this company. This was your moment to show support, and instead, I didn't upload anything. That wasn't me. You're telling me someone hacked your personal project, which no one even knew about, just to humiliate me? I don't know how it got up there. I gave you everything. And you couldn't even show respect. You gave Talia everything, I snapped. I've been building for years. But it's never enough. Because I don't play golf or kiss SS or post selfies. You're fired, he said. The room had all the air out at once. Talia stepped forward. Dad, wait. No, he said. He wants to sabotage the family business? He can do it from the outside. He walked off stage. People avoided looking at me. A few glanced with pity. Talia reached for me, but I stepped back. I didn't do it, I said again. I didn't. I know, she said softly. Then why the hell did you let him say it? I walked out, got into an Uber, and went home. That night I drank. Not just a glass. I finished the bottle of scotch I'd been saving for a win. At 1:14 a.m. my phone buzzed. Unknown number. You're welcome. I stared at it. I called her. She picked up immediately. You did that? I asked. There was a pause. Yeah. Why? Because I knew you'd never do it yourself. And because Dad needed to be knocked off that pedestal. You could have wrecked the company. No. I just made people see what they were already thinking. I didn't know what to say. You built something powerful, she said. Now use it. Don't waste it just to prove you can. She hung up. The next morning, my name was everywhere. I woke up to missed calls, emails, texts. Ray sent a screenshot of a trending hashtag Halterleak. There were memes. Clips of my Tools UI analyzing Dad's speech with captions like, marketing your way out of a legacy. Others were more direct. This is why charisma isn't a strategy. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or panic. Ray called me before I even finished brushing my teeth. Man, you're famous. This is not the way I wanted it. Doesn't matter. People are listening now. I'm unemployed. I just got disowned. That's not exactly a win. He paused. Let's meet. Noon. Cafecito on Division. I threw on a hoodie, sunglasses, and took Rufus out for a walk before heading to the cafe. I didn't know what I expected. Maybe to see the world treating me differently now. But it was the same city, the same cold wind off the lake, same potholes on Milwaukee Avenue. When I walked into Cafecito, Ray was already there with 2 coffees and a folder. He slid the folder across the table. What's this? NDAs. Early stage pitch deck. Some of the brands who reached out overnight want to talk. My mouth went dry. About what? Echoscope. That's what I've been calling it. Your tool. These companies, they want in. They're tired of fake metrics. They want to know how people really feel. I blinked. You're serious? As a goddamn stroke. Devin, this is your moment. You just blew a hole through your dad's entire brand, whether you meant to or not. Now, people want your version of the truth. I leaned back in my chair. The hum of the espresso machine, the smell of baked sugar and espresso, it all felt surreal. Like I was watching someone else's life from the outside. I don't even know where to start. Ray smiled. You already did. Now finish building it. I spent the next 3 days in a blur. Updating code, patching bugs, setting up a sandbox server. Ray helped with the business side, outreach, organizing virtual meetings, pitching. It wasn't all smooth. I had imposter syndrome breathing down my neck 24/7. Every time someone said, "We love what you're building," I wanted to respond. Really? Are you sure you met me? Talia texted occasionally. Never pushy. Just checking in. On the 4th day, she sent another message. You should know, Dad's trying to get ahead of the story. Talking to PR firms. Blaming it on a rogue employee. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Rogue employee. I knew exactly who that meant. I texted back, let him. She responded almost instantly. You sure? I'm not fighting for their approval anymore. It was a weird kind of freedom. I'd spent so long trying to win my dad's respect that I didn't even know who I was without that goal. But I started remembering things I'd buried. Like the time in high school when I stayed up all night making a presentation for his friend's small business. I was 17. The presentation helped them land a local sponsorship. He didn't thank me. Just said, this is how the real world works. You're learning. Or the time he told me during a client pitch in front of a full room, Devin doesn't talk much, but he's good with numbers. Think of him like the software, not the interface. Always behind the scenes. Always the numbers guy. Never the story. Now I was the story. We held our first virtual demo of Echoscope on a Wednesday. A small design brand out of New York wanted to see it in action. I ran a test with their latest product launch video. In real time, the tool showed which moments hit hardest emotionally, not just what people clicked, but what stuck, what stirred. Their CMO's eyes lit up. This is like having a sixth sense. How soon can we onboard? Ray gave me a thumbs up from across the table. That night, I poured a drink and watched Rufus snore on the couch. My inbox was filling up faster than I could read. Press inquiries, brand pitches, investors. Then came a name I hadn't seen in a while. Subject: from Roland Halter, request for call. I didn't open it. Not then. 2 days later, Talia called me, voice quiet, like she was in a library. He's not doing great, she said. Yeah. I figured. He's not sleeping. He's calling in favors, trying to save face. But it's not working. I rubbed my temples. Why are you telling me this? Because whether you like it or not, you're still part of this. And because he keeps saying you ruined his legacy. I barked a dry laugh. His legacy ruined itself. She didn't argue. Devin, you don't have to forgive him. But you should at least know he's scared. Good, I wanted to say. Instead, does he ever admit he was wrong? No. Not yet. Then I've got nothing to say to him. By the second week, Echoscope was getting real traction. I was barely sleeping, riding a wave of adrenaline and imposter syndrome and cold brew. But for once, it was mine. Ray and I agreed if we landed 2 more clients, we'd open a small office. Nothing fancy. Just a shared space to work. Something away from my apartment and Rufus's snoring. That night, I finally opened Dad's email. It wasn't long. Devin, I've made mistakes. Too many to name. But the worst might have been underestimating you. You always had a mind I couldn't understand, so I dismissed it. That was wrong. I didn't ask for this conversation to begin. I asked because I don't want the last thing I ever said to you to be, you're fired. I'll respect your decision either way. Dad, I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed the laptop and walked Rufus around the block. I didn't respond. Not yet. I didn't respond to the email. Not the next day, not the one after. I thought about it. I drafted a reply at one point, something short, civil. But then I'd remember the years of being overlooked, the backhanded comments, the jokes passed off as fatherly teasing. And I'd delete the draft. Ray and I had just landed our 3rd client, a wellness brand with a massive online presence, when I started hearing whispers. Not just about me, but about Halter Media. I was in a Zoom meeting when one of their former clients, a big name in the travel industry, casually mentioned, we used to be with Halter. But after that award night, well, we've been reevaluating. That same week, Talia sent me a voice message. Dad called a meeting this morning. Said we're losing 3 long-term contracts. The PR firm he hired isn't working. He's blaming optics, but you and I both know that's not it. There was a pause. I think he's realizing that the world changed, and he didn't. I replayed that line later. The world changed, and he didn't. It wasn't just about Dad. It was about everything, the whole structure we were raised under. Obedience over innovation. Image over substance. Blood over merit. And I had spent most of my life trying to fit into a room that wasn't designed for me. Now, for the first time, I was building my own. Ray and I rented a workspace in River North. It was small, had old hardwood floors and windows that rattled when the L train passed. But it was ours. We set up side by side, 2 desks, 2 monitors, and a whiteboard we barely used but still felt necessary. I brought Rufus to work a few days a week. He became our unofficial mascot. Clients loved him. On a rainy Thursday, we had a video call with a potential investor, some tech exec from Boston who looked like he hadn't slept since the Obama administration. He leaned back in his chair and said, "Your tool has something I haven't seen in a long time, honesty. And that's what people crave now. Not polish. Not spin. Truth." I didn't know how to respond to that. I just nodded. After the call ended, Ray turned to me. "Can you believe this?" I shook my head. "Feels like a different life." "It is. It's the one you built after they pushed you out." He paused, then added, "You gonna talk to your dad?" I sighed. He wants a clean ending. I'm not ready to give him one. Ray didn't push. He never did. He just nodded and went back to his screen. A few weeks later, I ran into Mom. At the grocery store of all places. She was picking out oranges. I didn't even see her at first. She just turned and said, "Devin?" I hadn't seen her since the ceremony. She looked tired. Thinner than I remembered. "Hey," I said. She smiled, but it was strained. "I've been meaning to call," she said. "You don't have to lie, Mom." She flinched a little. Okay. Maybe I didn't know what to say. We stood in the fruit aisle for a few moments in awkward silence. She finally said, "Your father isn't himself lately." Yeah. I heard he lost a few clients. He's angry, but mostly at himself. He won't admit it out loud, but I see it. I didn't say anything. He keeps watching old campaign videos, she continued. The ones you worked on. Even the small ones. He pauses them. Write things down. I looked at her. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't want you to think we were all blind. I wasn't expecting that. He did things his way, she said. And maybe it worked for a while. But it hurts you. And I see that now. I should have spoken up more. I didn't know how. She placed a hand on my arm. I'm proud of you, Devin. That hit harder than I expected. Later that night, I got another email. Not from Dad. From a journalist. Hi Devin, I'm working on a piece for Business Weekly about shifting leadership in family-run companies, especially post-COVID. You've become something of a case study. Would love to talk. Let me know. Renee Fielding. I stared at the screen for a while. The idea of airing family laundry in public made my stomach turn. But I also knew someone else would do it if I didn't. The story was already out there. At least this way, I could shape it. I forwarded it to Ray. He replied, "You're not just part of the story. You are the story." He wasn't wrong. I agreed to the interview. Set it for the following week. In the meantime, I dug up old files. Project decks, pitch notes, internal analytics I had collected over the years, the forgotten backbone of campaigns Talia had fronted, the ones Dad claimed were pure instinct. Turns out, I'd been telling the truth for years. Just quietly. Now people wanted to hear it. The day before the interview, I got a letter in the mail. Not an email. A real letter. Handwritten. The envelope said just D. Halter in blocky script. I opened it on the walk back upstairs. Rufus trotted ahead of me, tail wagging. The letter inside was 2 pages. Neat. Firm handwriting. I didn't have to look at the signature. Dad. Devin, I'm not good at saying what I mean. I talk in numbers and strategy and expectations, not in feelings. You know that. I didn't just fail you as a boss. I failed you as a father. You did everything I told you would lead to success. And when it worked, I gave the credit to someone else. Not because she deserved it more, but because she reminded me of myself. You didn't. And that scared me. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I ask only that you remember you were never invisible. I saw you. I just didn't know how to say it. Whatever you do next, I hope it's bigger than this name we both share. R. Halter. I stood at the top of the stairs, staring down at the paper. Rufus sat patiently beside me. I folded the letter and put it in my jacket pocket. Then I walked inside. The morning of the interview, I barely slept. It wasn't nerves exactly. It was the anticipation. The weight of being asked for my perspective and finally being expected to give it. I sat in the kitchen with Rufus curled up at my feet, sipping burnt coffee and staring at the blinking cursor on a blank notepad. I wasn't writing answers. I was writing boundaries. Things I would say, and things I wouldn't. No personal attacks. No scorched earth. No talking about the letter. That one I hadn't even told Ray about. The interview with Renee was scheduled for 10 a.m. I logged on early and checked my lighting, something I never used to care about. Now it mattered. People were listening. Devin, she smiled when the camera came on. It's good to finally meet you. You too. Thanks for reaching out. I know it's probably strange to have your name out there like this. Especially so fast. Strange is one word, I said, half laughing. She nodded. I want to approach this carefully. Not just the fallout, but what led to it. The dynamics, the innovation. The human side. That last part gave me pause. I think she noticed. We started with the basics. The tool, the night of the awards, the aftermath. I explained Echoscope without making it sound like some revolutionary magic trick. It wasn't. It was just honest tech. Feedback without flattery. But then she asked, "Do you think you were underestimated at Halter Media?" I stared at the screen for a second too long. I said slowly, I was the kind of person that didn't fit the mold. Quiet. Careful. Detail-driven. And in that company, what you projected mattered more than what you produced. Were you bitter about that? I was tired of it, I said. Bitter is too simple. I kept thinking if I worked harder, I'd eventually be recognized. But some rooms aren't set up for people like me. Some doors don't open from the inside. She gave a small nod, typed something. Then, and your family? I exhaled through my nose. They meant well, I said carefully. But they didn't always know how to show it. Or maybe they didn't want to show it the way I needed. You're not angry? I think I was for a long time. But anger turns into something else when you realize it's not going to change anything. I don't want to spend the next 10 years trying to win over people who didn't even realize I was losing. That line, I didn't plan to say it, but it felt true the moment I did. The interview wrapped an hour later. She thanked me, said I'd probably want to read the piece before it went to print. I told her I'd appreciate it. When the call ended, I didn't feel relieved. I felt raw, exposed in a way that had nothing to do with cameras. I closed the laptop and sat in silence for a long time. Then my phone buzzed. Talia. He saw the interview teaser. I waited. Then another message. He's not mad. He's quiet. I responded, that's a first. She didn't reply right away. Eventually, he asked me if I ever felt like he picked me just to hurt you. I stared at the message. What did you say? I told him I don't think he did it to hurt you. I think he did it because you made him uncomfortable. I didn't know whether to thank her or be furious. He said you were the only one who ever actually challenged him, she added. And just like that, I had to get up. I had to walk it off. I took Rufus and went down to the lake. The wind off the water was sharp, biting, but it cleared my head. That comment echoed. You made him uncomfortable. That wasn't new. I'd always asked too many questions. I liked building systems instead of chasing attention. I didn't smile on command. I didn't charm people into feeling seen. I just tried to see them. But maybe in the world he built, that was the bigger threat. That weekend, Talia invited me to dinner. Just the two of us. Neutral ground. Her condo near Lincoln Park. I hesitated. Every part of me wanted to say no. But I owed her something. Not just because of what she did that night at the ceremony, but because she'd stayed in the fire longer than I had, and she still kept her hand out. When I arrived, she was already pouring wine. White or red. Whatever numbs self-reflection faster. She snorted. White it is. Her place was what you'd expect. Polished, modern, full of curated warmth. She always had that ability. To set a mood. To control the temperature in a room. We ate pasta and avoided talking about anything serious for the first hour. It wasn't until dessert, a store-bought tart that neither of us liked, that she finally said, "Do you hate me?" I looked at her. No, you should. I don't. You spent years doing the work. And I took credit for half of it without realizing. I set down my fork. You were the face. I was the framework. That's how Dad set it up. But I let him. I didn't argue. She stared at her plate. I think I like being his favorite, she said. But I also think it KLLD a part of me. Because I always had to be his version of me. That surprised me. She always seemed so comfortable in that role. I guess we both got shaped by the same pressure, I said. Yeah, she whispered. Just bent in different directions. We sat there for a while, listening to the city outside. Eventually she said, "You're gonna outgrow all of this. The company. The family name. All of it." I didn't say anything. "But when you do," she added, "don't forget who you are outside of it." "I'm still figuring that out," I said. She raised her glass. "To figure it out." I clinked mine against hers. "To burn bridges," I added. She smirked. "Or building new ones." When I got home that night, there was another email from Renee. A preview of the article. I read it twice. She got it right. She captured not just what happened, but why. She didn't turn it into gossip or a tech fairy tale. She told a story about family, silence, and voice. I sent back a simple reply. Looks good. Publish it. Thank you. Then I shut my laptop and sat with Rufus on the floor. He rested his head on my leg, sighing like the weight of the world was his to carry too. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to fight to be heard. They were listening now. The article dropped on a Monday. It was titled, "The Analyst Who Wasn't Quiet. He Was Ignored." It ran in Business Weekly's leadership column, with a photo of me seated beside Rufus, casually dressed mid-laugh. I didn't even remember that shot being taken. But it worked. The story wasn't just about the family firm, or the tool, or even the infamous awards night. It was about me. How quiet can be powerful. How people who build the foundation are often left in the shadows of the people who stand on it. It hit harder than I expected. My inbox exploded. Old colleagues, clients, even professors I hadn't spoken to in years. And then a voicemail. From him. Devin. I read the article. I saw how much I missed. You didn't ruin my legacy. You forced me to look at it. That's not something I was brave enough to do. I don't know if there's room for us to repair anything, but if there is, I'm willing to try. That's all I'll say. I won't call again unless you want me to. I deleted it. Not out of anger, but because I didn't need it anymore. My story wasn't his to finish. 6 months later, Echoscope was thriving. Ray and I expanded the team. 5 people, all brilliant in their own right. Analysts, developers, and strategists. No one asked for titles. We were building something different. One of our proudest wins? Partnering with a firm that had just pulled a seven-figure campaign from Halter Media. When they emailed me the paperwork, I didn't gloat. I didn't even blink. Because by then, the revenge wasn't in beating them. It was no longer needed at all. But the final moment came in a quiet, unassuming way. It was late fall. Crisp air. Leaves everywhere. I was at a networking event in Chicago. Not the type I usually went to, but Ray had roped me in. Some kind of hybrid mixer for tech and marketing innovators. I was sipping a drink, chatting with a woman from a nonprofit who was interested in using Echoscope to better understand donor sentiment. That's when I heard it. Devin. I turned. And there he was. Roland Halter. My father. Older somehow. More tired around the eyes. Dressed in his usual navy suit, but less buttoned up. No tie. His hair was grayer. His posture, less rigid. Didn't expect to see you here, he said. I was invited, I replied evenly. He gave a small nod. Of course. We stood there in silence for a few seconds, the hum of the crowd behind us. I read the follow-up piece, he said finally. The one about your team. What you're building. It's impressive. Thanks, I said. I also read the case study on the Dolan campaign. You used real-time sentiment to redirect messaging within 12 hours. I said. We're faster now. He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. You know, we had a pitch meeting for that client 2 years ago. They didn't bite. They bit this time. Another pause. He cleared his throat. Talia told me you have no interest in coming back to Halter Media. I didn't answer. He already knew. But if there's ever a project, a campaign, I'd be willing to collaborate. On your terms. Not mine. There it was. The final twist in the story. Not a demand. Not guilt. An offer. From him. I looked him in the eye. I appreciate that, I said. But I think we both know I'm not the guy behind the curtain anymore. He nodded slowly. You're not. And that was it. Not a dramatic showdown. Not a hug. No tears. Just understanding. Mutual. Quiet. We shook hands. Then I turned back to my conversation, and he walked away into the crowd. Later that night, I walked into the office. No one else was there, just me and the soft blue glow of screensaver light. I leaned against the window, looking out over the city, phone buzzing in my pocket. More emails. More deals. More momentum. But I ignored them for a minute and just breathed. Because revenge isn't always about breaking what broke you. Sometimes, it's about building something so strong, so honest, that the people who doubted you have to watch it grow without them. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even proud. I was free. And nothing, not family name, not legacy, not even ambition, had power over me anymore. Rufus let out a snore from the couch behind me. I smiled. Then I turned off the lights and walked out of the office I built. Not from the shadow of my father's name, but in spite of it.